We're going to tie a Baetis Nymph. We start with a Trico 2457, and this is a size 20 hook, mainly so that you can see it, but I like to tie it also on a 22. Thread I'm using is Uni 17-aught Trico, and it comes only in white. I'm going to get the thread started right behind the eye of the hook and trim off. Now I'm going to take a piece of tan tubing in a small size and a bundle of coq de leon fibers. And what I'm going to do is take those fibers, trim off the butt ends, and stack it in my hair stacker. Now I'm going to take, it's a ½ inch length of that tubing, tan tubing, and I'm going to wet those fibers so that they come to a point. I'm going to thread those fibers into that tubing. And that'll be my abdomen section. The trick is wetting them down so that they come to a point. So if they already have a natural taper, so if you stack them properly and then lick them or moisten them, you can insert it into that tubing rather easily. Now I'm going to take a pair of heated hemostats that have got the teeth on them, heat them up with my alcohol lamp, and crimp that abdomen section. This is a little bit of trial and error. You can overheat it and melt it completely, or just take your time and try it a couple times. You'll get a feel for it. I only heat up one side of the hemostats. A lot of the heat will transfer over to the other jaw though. Take it, pinch it, and just crimp it. It picks up the teeth marks. And it gives me my segmentation into my abdomen. All right, you can see the little tuft at the end for the tail. Oh, I like the length about 2.5 times the shank of the hook. You can make it even stumpier. You could do this Trico version of this and make it really stumpy. But I'll bring that hook, that thread now back to the bend, and I'll build a little bump, mainly because I want the abdomen to stick straight out. Trim it to the length that I want it. And tie it in at the top of the hook. Now I have a piece of medallion sheeting in mottled brown, and it's about, less than 1/8 of an inch thick, about 3/32 or so. And I'm going to tie it in. It's going to become my wing case as well as my wing pads. Now I have a piece of rhea tail. This rhea tail is kind of like, for me, is miniaturized ostrich herl. And I use it for my thorax area. And I tie it in by the butt end. I'll tie off my thread. And this is the one, I don't use my rotary function too often for just putting on feathers, for applying feathers, but this is one time I will. Now I take a pair of and I'll just let the weight of those pliers keep tension on there. And I'm just rotating it on and applying it to more towards the eye of the hook. And I'll tie it off. See how I leave a lot of room up there? I have a tendency to bunch up on the eye of the hook. Now, I'll pull my medallion sheeting over. excuse me, before I do that, I've got legs to put on this baby, and this is just partridge. Take off the fluff. You need very little of it. I'll flatten it out, and then I'll take a fine point pair of scissors and cut out just the middle section of that feather, and that gives me equal legs on both sides. I tie that feather in, that partridge right in where I stopped tying in the rhea tail. I just got enough tension so I can still make the adjustment on the length. Now I will take my medallion sheeting and pull it up in between that notch so it keeps those separated. And then I'll pull on the partridge to adjust the length. I got one wrap, maybe two, but just one will do it. And I'm pulling on the stem of the partridge in order to adjust the length of the legs. The medallion sheeting is kind of pushing down the legs, and I want it to come up a little bit more. Okay, so I tie off. I've got my medallion sheeting tied in, or my wing case. Now I fold it back over, trim off my partridge stem, and I'm going to take that medallion sheeting and actually bend it in half, fold it in half by pressing it. In origami, we call this a mountain fold. Now I'll take a pair of scissors and almost at an oblique angle, flat angle, I've got it folded, and I'll cut my wings on my wing pads. Now I'll come up over the top of that medallion sheeting right where I started to begin my cut, and clamp it down or tie it down. And whip finish. And trim. I've got white thread on there, and so I'm going to color it up. It's just a brown marker. Brown or tan would be just fine. Just a spot of UV knot scents, just on the top, just to seal the hook in, and also to hold those. It'll help hold those wing pads in place and protect the head of the fly. Hit it with my laser, or UV curing laser. Only takes about 3 seconds. I go a little longer. There's very little resin on there. And that's my extended body Baetis nymph.